All right. Hello and welcome to tonight's Reel Out Charlotte live stream. We are so excited to be joined by so many wonderful members of the feature film Lupe, one of our favorite movies from this year's Reel Out Charlotte lineup. My name is Jerry Gelton. I use they, them, and he, him pronouns, and I'm excited to kick off this live stream with y'all this evening. Lupe is one of my favorite movies that we showed this year. So I don't want to hear myself talk. I want to hear the wonderful folks that are on this line tell us about the movie. And these were my favorite movies that we showed this year. So I'm going to hand off to the folks here and ask if you'll introduce yourselves and your roles this year. So I'm going to hand off to the folks here and ask if you'll introduce yourselves and your roles this year. So I'm going to hand off to the folks here and ask if you'll introduce yourselves and your roles this year. So I'm going to hand off to
So I don't sound a little bit some feedback if maybe it's only ours. I would start. My name is Underhill, some of the co-writers and directors. So I don't sound a little bit some feedback if maybe it's only ours. I would start. My name is Underhill, some of the co.
Okay. Sorry, folks. I think I caught that. I'm not 100% sure what just happened there, but I will re-say a little bit of what I said. Sorry also to our audience. I'm sure that was very confusing. I don't like hearing my own voice once, let alone the 3-4 times it seemed to be happening. So I'm going to go one by one and unmute each person and let them speak. Mute myself and make sure that we're staying nice and clean so that you can actually hear the wonderful things these folks have to say. So, Sharon, I'm going to start with you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sharon. I'm the editor of Lupe, and Lupe was actually the first film I've ever edited, so I'm very, very proud of it. And it's a film that is near and dear to my heart. Was that the question, or was there more to it? I don't remember.
That works for now. That's great. Thanks. Up next, Chuck and Andre.
Hi, I'm Chuck Volo. I'm the co-director of the film Lupe.
Hi, my name is Andre Phillips, and I'm also co-director of the film Lupe. We democratically share only a tiny piece of the frame.
I like it. I like it. So 50% of the movie was shot by one of you and 50% was shot by the other one.
It was very confusing, but it worked in the end.
Okay. It turned out beautiful, so seems successful. Rafael, I'll hand it off to you next.
Hi, how are you guys? My name is Rafael and I play Lupe, and I am very excited for this conversation we're about to have.
Thank you. All right, Carrie.
Hi there, my name's Kerry Michelle. I was originally brought on by Sharon to take a look at the movie and give notes. Since then, I've been elevated to the position of executive producer because I give good panel. My pronouns are, in case you're interested, in chick clears, I'm your bitch, but I do go by she and her. Position of executive producer because I give good panel. My pronouns are, in case you're interested, in chick clears, I'm your bitch, but I do go by she and her. Position of executive producer because I give good panel. My pronouns are, in case you're interested in chick clears, I'm your bitch, but I do go by she and her.
I think our audio issues might have been coming from your device, Carrie. I'm going to. I think our audio issues might have been coming from your device, Carrie. I'm going to. Been coming from your. Okay, so actually, it looks like Christine, they're coming from you when you unmuted just after Carrie was finished speaking. So I think that might be where we're getting the echo. If you have a pair of headphones that you could pop in, that sometimes can catch it to not have to be like hearing it from the speaker on the device itself. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, what I will do is I'd love to hand it off to our co-directors to kind of kick us off by telling us why you made this movie, what the movie's about, and what was the point of telling this wonderful story.
Hey everybody. We started making Lupe. It initially came through sort of a series of circumstances that allowed us to be able to make a film. We were working and sort of had reached a point where we had done enough small projects together, done enough sort of different creative jobs, but also some commercial work. Little things here and there to kind of build our skill, and we reached a point where we were in a position to make a film, so we were sort of talking about and going over different ideas and stuff like that. And around the same time, we were introduced to and having conversations with the woman who plays Lena in Lupe. And as we started talking to her, and she was incredibly open about her experience up to that point, and started to sort of just tell us about what she was going through currently, what she'd been through up to that point, and sort of just teaching us a tremendous amount. And as we got, again, deeper in these conversations with her, I think at one point, I think you asked her, Chuck, what she might want to see a film about someone similar to her, or someone who might share characteristics to her story. And I think, she said she wanted to see someone who was a badass, who was, in some ways a superhero, or was a character with agency in the world and wasn't just one of two very flat stereotypes. So I think between conversations with her and sort of learning so much, I think we were sort of inspired to make that film about that particular badass. And then from there, really pulled together a team, both of creative, people on the story side. And the woman who plays Lena was incredibly open and giving with her story and helped us to craft so many scenes, both before we actually started rolling and once we started rolling, working with the other members of the cast in our film, but also of creative professionals and artists as well, to help us actually make the film come to life. And then things kind of bloomed outwardly from there.
Yeah. It felt like a timely project. It felt like a fascinating project. And again, meeting the actress who plays Lena and learning from her, and kind of just asking her. We actually asked her once, just out at a barbecue, back when we could have things like barbecues. Hey, because we talked about film and transgender representation in film, and we asked her, what would you want to see, as Andre said, in a feature film? And she said, a character like me, but who's a badass, not a victim, not a drug addict, not a whatever. So that kind of started it, and from there, it just started going into research and questions and more questions. And then, like Andre said, we built the team and took a swing at it. And we're so grateful to have met everyone that we've met and learned as much as we've learned, and hope to keep doing so.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. I love the idea of telling the story of a badass and telling a trans story that isn't just that tragic trans trope that we've become oh so used to in queer cinema. I think Christine's device is hopefully working good. I don't think the issue was yours, Carrie. Carrie's talking in our private chat. I think you're okay. I think it was when Carrie unmuted. So either way, it's okay. Nobody needs to feel bad. Let's see if Christine works now, and if you want to just introduce yourself and your role with the film.
Okay. All right. Hello. Everyone can hear me, right? I'm okay. Good.
Yeah.
All right. I'm Elsa. Well, I'm Christine. I play Elsa in the film. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here and hear what the questions are. And it's a great film and beautiful, and I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. Awesome. So everyone, please make sure you mute yourselves in between not speaking. That's just the microphone button on your device. And so first question that we'll hop into is, I'd love to hear what everyone's favorite part of creating this piece was. And we can just kind of go top row each person over. So we'll start Sharon, Chuck and Andre, Raphael, Christine, Carrie, and just kind of go one by one and tell us what your favorite part of being a part of this film was, or the filmmaking process, just what you enjoyed the most.
For me, it was a very interesting editing process. It's very untraditional because the shoot was very run and gun, a lot of ad-libbing and improv, and it was to the point where it was so far from the script that was written that they were like, just don't read, don't bother with the script, just look at the footage, look at what you have, and make a movie. So I had a lot of creative freedom, and it's a very interesting movie where there's kind of 4 plot lines or 4 different aspects of the story. There's Raph with Lena, there's Raph with Elsa, there's the flashbacks of little Raph, and there's Raph and Arun, the love interest. So for me, my favorite part was finding the right balance of interweaving these 4 elements together to create a cohesive arc and story. Which is kind of like, it's a cheat because I'm basically saying my favorite part was the whole thing, was the whole process. But the craft of interweaving the storylines was probably my favorite. In a way that they affect each other, and they kind of connect with each other, and create a dialogue with each other.
Yeah, very cool. It's so important from an editing perspective of how to weave together those different things and how you can actually make the narratives make the point. Such an integral part of the filmmaking team, and editors don't get enough credit by any means.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. Just moving a scene around before or after another scene can change the whole meaning of the story, and it's kind of mind-blowing. So.
Absolutely. All right, Chuck and Andre, what was your favorite part of creating this feature?
Similar to Sharon, it's kind of more than one thing, but for me, it was the length and the adventure. The films that I had worked on previously to Lupe, not as a director, but as other crew member roles, were generally 30, 40 days in and out. It's over. You see it in film. You see it in the theater in 6 months. This was an elongated journey, starting in freezing cold winter in New York with Christine and Raphael, then going to the boiling hot Coney Island with Raphael, then going to boiling hot Batay villages in Dominican Republic in the middle of nowhere with Christine, doing flashback scenes, asking her to improv, and then going to the post journey, meeting Carrie, Sharon, all the other amazing folks involved with the post journey, and working through all that. It felt incredibly long, and at times we were frustrated, like, when will this end? But looking back, I would have been sorely disappointed if it had been a quick 30 days. So I got to meet all these people on this adventure, all these folks. It was kind of wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things. There was kind of this constant, and obviously everyone says, "Oh, you're always learning," which is true. But there was this kind of way in which we were constantly being taught by the subject matter, the locations, the people we were working with. Fabulously talented cast and crew who both brought so much of their own experience and skills to the table that we then learned from, things that we, new processes on a technical set that we hadn't encountered yet, or, new ways of thinking about it, approaching a scene from actors' perspectives that we hadn't thought about before, right? So we have, and then, again, flying to the Dominican Republic and filming out in the Batay and learning so much about day-to-day life out there and just sort of how we, work with folks there. And it was a non-stop learning process at every turn. Again, I mean, I think as Sharon spoke to as well, like, even just seeing, as a director, after you've been with footage for a little while, and then just seeing what a proper editor takes and does, and how things can be how that footage becomes a completely different, almost like a different medium on their canvas versus how we, even as directors, might view it. So, I think it was kind of this endless run of learning experiences. But I'll tell this one story because I haven't told anybody. I just remembered it. When we were filming in the Bronx, it was, I don't remember what day it was because it all kind of runs together, but it had been an incredibly hard day, and we'd been going up and down these incredibly tall staircases next to these buildings that we were filming in. We almost lost Christine down them at one point.
The crazy heels and making her smoke dozens of cigarettes.
And we were shooting the scene, and it was a great scene, and everybody was sort of giving their all. And this kid, who was just going home, he had groceries. He stopped by, and he saw us working there, and he came by, and the monitor was on the ground, and he came over and he stepped next to me like this, like he was looking at the monitor too, and kind of like watching the monitor to make a call. And it just felt so perfect to the whole film, where not that it was just that we were so immersed in everywhere we were, and
Can
everything
you call
was
action
so.
a few times?
Yeah, we ended up asking him to call action because he was just hanging out there, and I knew he definitely was going to get in trouble because he was like late with the groceries by like. But it was really cool because we were so, everywhere we went, we were both so exposed to what we were filming and what we were doing, which is in some ways really risky, right? You take a film set and you put it in unpredictable circumstances, or if you are exposed, right, that can cause all kinds of problems. But at the same time, it allowed for a lot of really fun and exciting creative energy, despite being, pretty brutal some days.
That's wonderful. What a fun experience that person has. They definitely got to go home that day and tell their friends, "Oh, what'd you do today? Oh yeah, you just went to work. Okay, I was delivering groceries, and then I was involved in the production of a filmmaking.
It was very,
Just a casual Tuesday."
it was very he acted like it was no big deal the entire time, which is even better.
Nice, awesome. Let's see. All right, Raphael, you want to tell us about your favorite part of the feature?
I think my favorite part was we were talking about this right before we went live, was creating the role and preparing for the role. Um, like as an actor, like I wanted to like pay justice to the story, and I felt so responsible for it. And I was like, I I need to know who this human is. And by immersing myself in the research and reading biographies and reading like textbooks and like getting submerged into like the stories and the journeys of the trans community, it changed my life. I was allowed to explore parts of me that I'd never been allowed to explore before. One of them being my femininity and how strong and powerful and empowering that was. Um, and there was a lot of moments within the film that like Andrew and Charles allow us to create and improvise and play, and all that research and preparation that I did before came in very handy in just like creating this truthful moment and having the best scene partner, Christine, to play with. It was so incredible. It was so much fun. There was so much love and truth, and there was so much respect uh, through the entire process. And I feel that whoever sees the movie can capture a glimpse of that truth, because it was true for all of us. We were creating something like very special, and we all had the awareness of how important the story was, and it was really fun. It was very fun and kind of like an actor's dream. um we were talking like one of the improvised scenes actually brought the name to the film. Like Andrew and Charles were like, so Ralph, you're gonna be talking to Lena in this scene and you're just gonna come with the name. And I'm like, oh shit, that's huge. So like one of like my doing my research, like this Cuban trans women, like she grew up in Cuba, so music is huge part of Cuba. So let me look for what's his Cuban heroes, and I was like, okay, Lupe. Lupe's like one of the most badass singers in the history of like literally singing. And all of a sudden, this scene when the editor was like taking the movie and seeing all the scenes, this scene spoke to her, and she was like, guys, I think this is the name of the movie. So like even the journey of that in itself speaks volumes of how much trust and how much genuine moments and playfulness we all carry through the entire process. And I think that was my favorite thing.
Wonderful. I can't believe they had you just come up with your character name just like that. Um, it was a brave choice, y'all, but it worked out really well. Carrie, do you want to tell us about your favorite part of being a part of the movie?
Okay, yes. I came to this late, thanks to the great Shiran just up here. I was a consultant at Disney at the time, and I'd come out only about 6 months previously as a transgender woman to corporate. And Shiran just asked me to look at a cut. And effectively, I didn't get my notes back to her quickly because the movie just really spoke to me about my journey and other journeys. And I know you mentioned it earlier on about transgender individuals not being victims and especially not being freaks. We are real people. We cut, we bleed, we smile, we laugh, we cry. And also echoing part of Raphael's comment, was that I made a discovery about myself as well. And one of those things was I no longer have to think about passing to exist in this universe. I can be me, I can be genuinely me. And this film has helped me explore that. And I'm so blessed that Charles and Andre have given me the opportunity to be a brand manager for this movie at festivals and things. I can't thank them enough. It's been a really, really beautiful experience for me. And I honestly believe in these troubled times, we are all honor bound to tell our stories, tell them honestly, tell them truthfully, and have them out there, because we cannot be ignored, we cannot be ghettoized, and we cannot be made pariahs. We are here and we're proud, and we're very proud of who we are and what we represent. I think I'm done.
I love it. Yes, it's so important to uplift our trans community and stand in solidarity with every aspect of who we are, for sure. Thank you.
I just want to jump in and say that I told Chuck and Andre that there's no way we can finish this film without the support and input of the trans community, and have an active member of the community on our post team. And I thought that was paramount. I thought otherwise we're not doing justice for the community. And so I went on a little search for a fellow team player who can really join the family and give us the honesty that we need to portray here. And Carrie did all of those things and more. So I really appreciate.
I love how much of a little family y'all are. Like you genuinely, like, I can easily and quickly feel the sense of community that y'all had amongst yourselves, and that's really wonderful to see. Christine, I'll pass it off to you. What was your favorite part of being a part of this film?
My favorite part is similar to Raphael. I mean, it's exploring. It was being able to explore my character. I'm not a prostitute, so this is also a very dark role for me. I normally play bubbly, kind of easy characters. So to be in this kind of raw, real, kind of like a deceitful, because she has a heart, but she's also she's just mean in a way, and she's selfish, and it's just weird when I look back at the film and I see myself, and I really went to a dark place to get there. And it's just, I really enjoyed the journey and just exploring that. It's hard to get there. For me, it was rough, but it was easy, like you said, with the sense of community and trust that we all have for each other, to create such an easy, beautiful environment. Safe. I felt safe. So I would say that that's my favorite part.
Fabulous. All right. Well, thank y'all for spending some time with me to chat about this. Nada was able to join our stream, so I'm going to bring Nada live now. Hi, Nada.
Hello, everyone. How are y'all? I'm so sorry I hopped in late. A tree fell right outside my neighborhood, and as I was about to pull out to get out, people started pulling in behind me, and then we were just all stuck for a minute, because life, that's just 2020 vibes right now.
We've had some weather issues in the Carolinas from the hurricane over the past couple of days. So a lot of trees down, a lot of power outages. But I'm glad for Nada to be here with y'all now. They prepared a lot of really great questions. So I'm going to disappear. I'll still be in the background in the private chat for our folks on the line. But nice spending time with y'all. And Nada will take good care of you. Bye.
Did a great job, Jerry.
I'm so excited to be here with y'all. I think Lupe, for me, was actually the best film I've watched this entire year. And there was some really strong messaging within it. I literally asked you this Q&A. I was like, hey, can I please do this? Because this film was so great. It's just so touching for me. And I'm really thankful to just be in this space with y'all and be able to have a conversation with y'all about some of these things. I wrote out some pre-recorded questions. The first one I want to ask, because one of the most impactful things for me about this film was that it was able to talk about sex trafficking and sex work in a way that did not demonize sex workers. So how are y'all able to do that? How are y'all able to sort of have these very, very important questions in ways that didn't demonize the folks that were involved in this work as legitimized work, but also address the folks that are utilizing sex trafficking to cause harm to women?
Thank you. That's a great question. It is a really tricky. It's very difficult, I think, to approach oftentimes because there is this automatic assumption of so many things around sex work and sex trafficking, around human trafficking in general, right? I mean, I think that there's, when we talk about human trafficking and what that can mean and what sex trafficking and sex work, I mean, there's so much going on that even bringing the character even bringing someone who's engaged in that work into a film automatically, I think oftentimes drives a lot of biases or assumptions or so on and so forth. I think both, to a certain degree, I've, had a lot of help in some ways. My girlfriend at the time, my wife now, did a lot of work with the Human Trafficking Court in Queens in New York. And actually, I learned a tremendous amount through conversations with her about just broadly about what that court is doing and the kind of work that they're doing. But also just, everybody sort of ends up where they do for such a wide variety of reasons. And most people are kind of aiming for the same thing. So I think to have a character who is engaged at different times, perhaps even in semi-voluntarily, voluntarily, or some mix of both, who's in and out of that life, I think is very normal in the world. I think there are many people who are living that way, and to have a character who's, experiencing that type of life, to just see other aspects of their life that go on, I think was just very normal. And I think, Christine just, obviously does a phenomenal job of portraying that and being so incredibly human in that role that I think, we tried to do a risky thing by having that character, and then Christine came and basically just made it entirely possible.
I actually, that when you say that, that reminds me of an early script note we got. We tend to send our scripts out, and this was a smaller script, but we sent it out for notes and thoughts. And we did get a note from some folks saying that they didn't find it believable that after Christine's character Elsa lives with Raphael, that Lupe would be comfortable with her continuing to practice her trade, her craft in her house. Remember that note? And while there are moments and beautiful moments between the performers that you see, Raphael at one point jokingly says, I'll beat up this pimp, or I'm sorry, this John, and those moments. But there is this level that we wanted the characters to have of, you're where you're at, I'm where you're at, and there's not a sense of judgment, but just in this cold, freezing New York winter, we're just huddling with what little bit of family we have, and there wasn't a sense of judgment. And that was an attempt. The performers took it and made a home run with it, and then our post-team took it further. But I think I do recall us having that conversation with.
That's usually we brought the note.
I forgot about that too. Yeah, it's a great question.
I remember that note. There was also a note on the cut as well. But I want to chime in and say that you guys should mute, I think, but the idea that some people in the prostitution either choose that path and some people are forced into that path is utilized as actually a story tool, without spoiling the movie, but is utilized as a story device in the movie. And I think that scene that Chuck is talking about, while we try to ride that delicate balance of, while there is a sense of mutual respect of you do your thing, I'll do my thing, there's also an influence. You could see how Lupe is uncomfortable with what men are doing to women in prostitution, and it's kind of steering her towards her femininity of, I might not be comfortable being a man, seeing this, growing up with this my whole life as a kid, as an adult. So I think the movie holds space for all sides of this, of prostitution, those who choose and those who are forced into it, and provides a healthy conversation about it.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, this film really portrays. So, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm so glad that you brought up that it is sympathetic to sex workers. That's a community that I have lived in, and but for the grace of God, go I. Now, while at festivals, and I reported this back to Chuck and Andre one time, I have had sex workers come up and actually say, "My God, you're showing us as human beings. We're not evil. We're not dirty. We're not filthy." And that was such a good piece of feedback for me as well. And I'm glad that you sort of picked up on that. I think the boys did a fantastic job.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely one of the most impactful parts of this movie. Probably for me, the reason why I sat down and was like, this is one of the best films I've watched. That and the fact that there was no sort of lubrication of Lupe. And that goes into my second question. A lot of times, as we see in trans films, as women start to navigate like their femininity, we see this sort of purification where like they lose their strength and like they become, there's almost like a bimbofication of trans women once they start navigating that in movies. However, in Lupe, as she navigates her journey, she holds on to her strength, like she's a boxer, and she utilizes that throughout the film. So why was it important to portray Lupe as such a strong character throughout her entire journey?
So I think it kind of goes back to, I mean, inherently to the very genesis of what, when we were talking about earlier, what caused us to make this film, about making this film character who was in fact a badass, a bit of a superhero, someone who kind of took the fight outwardly to a degree. And so I think that was always baked into the character from the very beginning. And I think there are so many points in the film where Lupe struggles with what that means on a few different levels. Both, right? What does it mean to be like? And Raphael, please, obviously, because you interpret it so beautifully in how she wrangled with that stuff. But in some ways, there are moments when that strength, that brutality, that ability to inflict damage on others is, again, in this typically stereotypically masculine way, the boxing, the fighting, the stance, the posturing, all that. Is seen as, on one hand, it's seen as a superpower, it's seen as this armor, this thing that she can use to further her journey. On the other hand, it's seen as something that's a liability, something that's going to get her, found out or drive people away from her, or not make it possible for her to really be the person she thinks she is. So I think it was really important to show her both having that strength and then wrestling with that strength, and then finding this sort of part where that strength and who she is now kind of dovetail beautifully and can be used together. But again, I think everybody else has, Raphael, if you have anything, I mean, you did it so wonderfully.
One, I feel like that's also like for me one of the things that gives so much value to this film. It's opens the question of what's feminine. What is being a woman. Like a woman can look many different ways, and even in those scenes that I was being this badass boxer and this badass human, I was still a woman, and that's how being a woman looked for this person, which, if we take that to a macro, I feel like Lupe does an amazing job at putting that into the spectrum of everyone, into everyone's attention of there's no fucking such a thing as feminine and as masculine. There's just humans define, like, put definitions, cultural definitions to what one of those are, but at the end it's about being human and being truthful to who you are and finding what is truth for you. And like, I feel like that's so beautiful about this film is like we see this character actively struggling with that and like going on that journey, and at the end I'm like, this is my woman. My fucking woman like colored dresses and short hair and is masculine and has his body, and I'm fine. But it's such a journey for her to get to that place by herself. And one of the most beautiful things, again, speaks volumes of the film and your writing, guys, is that he finds the most empathy and love from the sex workers that he is like constantly you know, running with, because he's like in the search of his sister, and all of a sudden he's in search of one sister, but in reality he's making all these other sisters. He's like finding a community, he's finding love, he's finding like that strength, that courage through sex workers. And it's beautiful. It's such an important message, especially in this polarized times that we live, where there's so much hate and there's so much pain, and we all have to like sit down, chill out, and be a little bit more comfortable and like, empathetic with each other's journey.
Yeah, if I could just add something in. I know, Raphael, you went through this journey in a short, condensed period of time. I'm someone who's been on this journey for 52 years, and it still hasn't finished, and it's still very difficult. And I think it's funny that you brought up the bimbification of it, because I live in Los Angeles, and I definitely don't pass, and I get a lot of flack about that. But I think Raphael's representation and the film's reflection of the duality of sexuality in the constant daily battle that I and others have with how we're presenting, how we're acting. Are we going to give ourselves away? Are we going to offend? Are people going to like us? Do we like ourselves? It's just so beautifully encapsulated in the movie that I was just so glad I got brought on board to be involved with it. It does such a good job of showing the humanity of what someone in the LGBTQ community plus can go through.
Yeah, that was so powerful to me as well. The separation of this trans experience from passing or not passing. Those were seen as like two separate entities that didn't exactly have correlation with one another. You don't have to pass to be trans.
And you know what?
It's a beautiful.
Sorry. You know what? It brings. It becomes a more even universal issue that's even outside of the LGBTQ community, where everyone, there's a general message of being comfortable in one's skin, being true to yourself. It's also a message that could relate to women boxers and women fighters. Like it just goes so much broader. And then those people outside of the LGBT community can utilize their identification, what they take away, to actually understand the trans community better. So I think that the movie does a lot of service to that as well.
I agree. Could not agree more. Excited to see Lupe on the big screen, because it deserves to be there. It's an incredible film. I'm really glad that someone utilized the word superhero to describe Lupe, because for me this is so close or akin to a superhero film. And that's part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much, is because I was able to look at Lupe as a superhero character in a realm, as a character that normally doesn't exist in the superhero realm, because this is a realm that you see so many cis white men dominate. But it is all around like an incredible film. I can't praise it enough. My final question is about intentionality. So this was a very intentional film. There were so many facets of intentionality that had to come together to bring this film. There was intentionality surrounding sex work. There was intentionality surrounding sex trafficking and the way that that was going to be portrayed. There was intentionality surrounding trans characters. There was intentionality surrounding how to handle and navigate environments like that. For someone who wants to make a film that represents marginalized communities and hyper marginalized communities, how can they do that in an intentional way to make a film that's productive rather than like takes us backwards?
And I find that beautiful that you asked that question, because I just literally, as we speak, finished my first script as a screenwriter, and I just wrote my first movie. And Charles and Andres just read it. And I feel that it comes down to telling the truth. Just tell your truth and tell the truth that you're living, because people resonate to truth. People would recognize themselves in truth. And it can be a multi-million-dollar budget film, or it can be a film made with your iPhone. And if it's true, it's true, and it's gonna resonate. And I feel like sometimes as creators and artists, we get so stressed with feeling into boxes of expectation of what they need from me, what they want from me. I was like, we're not creating because someone else needs or wants something. We're creating because we need to share a truth. And it's important that we share our truth, because by being brave in this sense, we ignite bravery in our community and in whoever watches it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, right, there's not much to add to that. I mean, I think we are started from a point of interest and learning when we started making the film. And we were, incredibly lucky that we had people who were kind and patient enough to kind of take us, hold our hands and sort of like take the time to be like, no, I mean, this is how it goes, and sort of help us along that process. And I think maintaining that desire to continue learning about the stories that you're engaging with, and portraying what's brought to you, as opposed to, I think we, as filmmakers, you always have a point that you have a story you want to tell, you have an end result that you want to get to. I think that ultimately we all want very similar things, right? There may be a variety of different things that we all want, and we all want some of them more or less than others. But I think ultimately those are fairly noble. We all know them, we all see them, we all recognize them. And I think there's many, many different ways of getting there. And I think that's where the difference in variety in stories can come from. But I think knowing that people don't have people's end goals and desires and needs and wants and loves and all that aren't so alien, but are rather common in that we all share them. And then I think it's really about engaging with those people whose stories you want to, who you want to engage with, and being open-minded and learning and being willing to be wrong.
Totally. And part of that might be also, I felt like with this project, we were trying to ask as opposed to assert. I know that traditionally film is assertive, like quiet on set, roll cameras, do this, cut, stop, right? And that makes sense for a lot of things, but for us to somehow stumble into this story, work with the folks involved, go through those freezing cold nights, go through those blazing hot days, get this jumble of a mess to Sharon of pieces that she's working together, that she goes to Carrie and says, what do we have here? And the fact that at the end of all that, Carrie can say, wow, this is actually something you didn't completely mess up. That there's no way in hell we would have gotten there if we hadn't been asserting. That I can tell you right now. It should be like this, hit your mark. No, that wouldn't have worked at all, I don't think. I think we had to be asking questions, learning, and we continue to do that to this day. And I continue to learn from hearing from everyone on the panel as we speak. So that's.
Because I want to add to what you're saying, because what you're saying is so important, and it goes by the hand with what I shared. It's you guys were seeking that truth, and you guys were actively seeking through that truth. You find a story that needed light, and you guys wanted to share light to this as artists, but you also were humbled enough to understand that that was not your personal truth. So in that essence, you guys always remind and remained open-hearted, asking questions, including people in the conversation. And that's why everyone that became or was part of this film in post filming, and any part of the process during this film, everyone felt part of that, because everyone felt like they were being listened, because you guys were searching for the truth. And that's what Lupe like ends up being. Again, we're seekers of truth. So kudos to you, boys.
Yeah, and I just like, sorry, I'd just like to leap in and support Raphael's comment. I don't choose movies to make money. I choose movies that actually touch me here in the heart, and I believe in what people are doing, and I will give it my whole 110%. And the second I was brought on to be involved with this, I could see that there was a beautiful story, a true story. And again, echoing what Sharon was saying, in that it is more than just a trans story. I'm also an immigrant who's lost family. I'm estranged from 4 children. I'm constantly reaching out and trying to find out where my family are and what they're doing. And that hit me really hard too. So thank you very much, boys.
I'd like to add as an answer to your question about what could filmmakers do to convey honest stories like this. I think there's a few. I'll be honest. When I started on this project, I barely knew anything about the trans community. But I think the thing that really helped me on this journey was a sense of curiosity and a sense of empathy. And I think I injected a lot of empathy into into the editing and into the making of the story. And I think if you address your subjects, even if it's not your truth or your story, if you approach it with empathy and curiosity, I think you're going to be on the track to generate a genuine, honest story.
Thank y'all so much for the response. As I was listening to y'all talk, I was thinking about how one of the other reasons this film is so touching to me is the way that y'all explore building community. For me and my friend group in my community, it's really similar to an island of misfit toys, right? Like a lot of folks are houseless, a lot of folks are sex workers, a lot of folks are LGBTQ. And for a lot of folks, what building community looks like for them is family and coworkers. For folks who are sort of in similar situations to myself, where they sort of are having to build alternative communities and find chosen families versus blood family, what advice would you give them for building community?
It's funny because I had this very present in my life as well. I have, similar to you and your experience, I have a lot of sex workers and a lot of trans friends, and me myself, through my journey of non-binary that started actually with this film. I always say that first, before finding someone else, find yourself, and as soon as you find your truth, your tribe will follow. And I feel like that's something that this movie's about. We see Lupe finding herself, and her tribe slowly start finding her, and she gets closer and closer to build this family because she decides to be brave enough and embrace her truth and love herself. And once you do that and you're able to do that, that's a relationship you're going to be with the entire life of your experience of living in this planet is with you. So if you're able to give you that love and compassion, you're going to elevate yourself and you're going to elevate your frequency, and people get attracted to that, and you're going to find your tribe.
Yeah, I'd just like to leap in as well. In finding communities and tribes and family, being yourself, being genuine, they will come from the most unexpected places. Once I became more accepting of myself, people became more accepting of me, and really do just reach out. And although people make preconceptions about us and preconceived ideas, we shouldn't do that again in the same way about the general populace. There are people out there that really are interested in our stories and really interested in us as human beings, and don't put up the barricades, just be embracing to whoever comes along and talks to you.
All right, y'all. We are down to our last few minutes, and unfortunately, we have to wrap up, which I am very sad about because I could talk to y'all about this film all day long. I think a good way we could wrap up is if everyone could give a 1-sentence reason why they think folks should watch Lupe.
It's got these 2 amazing actresses in it. It was directed by these 2 fantastic fellows and edited by an amazing Sharan and a beautiful team behind it. What more could you ask for?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Raf.
It's just I feel like all of us, absolutely everyone, male, female, queer, cis person, I feel like we all at some point or throughout our lives in many different points, we feel like we don't fit, or we feel that we don't fit a mold that is expected from us. And Lupe is a very liberating film in that sense, in which takes the audience into this journey of self-discovery and self-love. And it doesn't matter where in the spectrum you fall, you're gonna find something of you in this film. So I hope you guys give Lupe a chance and enjoy it. And I just got a baby here, my little buddy.
Oh,
He agreeing. He agrees.
I have to just echo exactly what Raphael said, because this film is just, it's relatable. Like, I feel like Ellen DeGeneres, like it's relatable. Like, and it's relatable to everyone, every color, every race, every job, everybody, every kind of family situation. It is relatable. So that's just how I feel about it. Everyone's got to see it. That's the one word I would use for it. It's comfortable, relatable. My husband, he loved the film, and this is definitely not a comfortable subject for my husband. Like, he's just a little bit different, and so this was hard for him to kind of watch at first. But then at the end of it, he looked at me and said, "That was the most beautiful film I had ever seen in my life." He said, and I can't believe my wife was in it, and he was crying, and it was just it's relatable. That's all I could say to anybody.
It's a deep dive into a riveting character exploration and self discovery journey that is a universal message, as Christine said. That we will all be able to relate to. That we've all been there. In the end, the message is, you cannot hang your happiness on someone else and have it depend on someone else. You have to be happy with yourself first. And and I think that's a very healthy and wholesome message to send out to the world right now.
Yeah. Yes.
Go ahead.
I would say, sorry, we thought we were. I would say, see Lupe, because you may see a film about someone you do recognize or someone that you don't recognize, but by the end of the film, I promise that you'll be rooting for them.
That's good. I would say there's a lot of films out there. This one was made with the most fantastic people on the planet, and it was made from a place of genuine heart and genuine truth. And whether it has a wrinkle here or a flaw there, it was made from a place of truth, and that was the thing we tried to start with. So that's what I'd say.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into this stream. Tickets to Lupe, as well as all of our other films on Reel Out, are going to be available until Sunday on reelout.org. Stay tuned, because at 7 p.m. we'll be doing a Q&A with the directors of From Zero to I Love You. Thank you so much to you all for being here. Thank you so much to everyone who's watching. Y'all have a great rest of your night. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
kind words. Bye.
Thanks,
Good night.
everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.